The deposit makes sure that they know that you're getting paid and that you know that you're getting paid. Hi, and welcome to the Creative Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Izolda. On the show, you'll hear interviews with innovative creative artists, entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders. You'll have a front row seat as they explore their internal motivations that inspire them to grow, achieve, and innovate. Get their insights and realizations as I tease out answers to questions they've never even pondered before. This episode is brought to you by my upcoming book, Get Booked, A Performer's Guide to Working with Booking Agents in the Gig Economy. Are you ready to thrive in gigs, big or small? Start with my Nailing Your Holiday Gigs Checklist, your ultimate guide to crushing the holiday season. Grab it in the show notes and mark your calendar. The book drops January 2025. Get ready to go pro, book smarter, and own the gig economy. And now, let's get on with the show. Hello, and welcome to the Creative Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Izolda. And as always, I'm here to help you find creative, effective solutions to thrive in your life and your work. Today's episode is all about something near and dear to my heart, and that is navigating the holiday gig season as a contracted gig worker, performer, or creative professional. The holiday season is full of opportunity, whether you're a gig worker or you want to do a side hustle. Clients are throwing parties, companies are hosting events, and last-minute gigs are popping up left and right. But here's the thing, you've got to be ready. That means negotiating smart, prepping effectively, showing up like a pro, and leaving a lasting impression. So in this episode, I'm breaking it all down. I've created an ultimate gig workers checklist to ensure that you negotiate your terms confidently, prepare thoroughly before the event, perform like a pro and handle the unexpected, and secure rave reviews to build future opportunities. Oh, and as a little teaser, this topic is one of the areas I cover in my upcoming book, Get Booked, A Performer's Guide to Working with Booking Agents in the Gig Economy. So you're getting kind of an early preview of some of the tips and strategies I share there. Are you ready? Let's get going. The first thing, you gotta negotiate the gig. When it comes to holiday gigs, the first step is negotiation. As much as we'd all like to think the client knows what we need, they don't. It's up to you to spell it out and ensure all the details are covered. What do I mean by that? The client knows what they want and what they need, but they don't necessarily know what you need in order to be your most effective or your best. So here are some things that you want to keep in mind. Number one, your fee. Be clear about your rate and make sure it reflects not just your time, but also your expertise, preparation, and any associated costs like travel, parking, and materials. If parking is expensive in the area, either ask the client to cover it or build it into your fee. Number two, food expectations. Let's be real. Don't expect food to be provided. In fact, many agents will tell you outright that you shouldn't eat on site, especially in front of clients or guests. Bring your own meal and eat it discreetly during a break in the green room or another private area. If the client offers food, ask for any dietary accommodations if necessary. That way, you can politely advocate for yourself while maintaining professionalism. 3, the venue. Ask about the event space. Where will you perform? Where will you set up? Where are you going to work? If you're a tarot reader, for example, like I am, you don't want to be right next to the DJ booth where no one can hear you. I just happened to be in a gig just the other day. They were playing the music super loud, and I found myself shouting to people, trying to get them to hear me. At one point, one of the clients went up to one of the staff members and went, "Hey, can you turn the music down in this room so that we can hear what the tarot reader is telling us?" Which was so wonderful. So yeah, it's really nice to have someone advocate for you, but you also want to do that for yourself in advance. We were told that the DJ was going to be in another room altogether. The problem, of course, was that there were no doors between the rooms, so the music came through already. And as my friend Brian McNellis, shout out to you, always says, what doesn't work in this gig goes in the next gig's contract. From now on, I'm going to say, is there a way to shut off or close off the space where I'm going to be reading if the music is going to be right next door? That's going to be part of what I negotiate from now on. All right, here we go. Keep going. If you're a performer, you're going to need a space for your gear, for your costumes. That's sometimes a green room. That's sometimes a closet. You need to make sure you know what it is in advance and make sure that it's going to work for you within the confines of what you're going to be doing. Get all of these details up front. Now, they may not know, or it might not be that way when you get to the gig, but at least you will have something in writing that says what you expected it to be so that you can then talk to the client in the moment to get things straightened out, or to go, okay, I'm going to do it this way because this is all we have. But next time we're going to make sure that this isn't going to happen that way. Sometimes these things happen. I've had to work literally in closets because that was the only private space that they had. It wasn't great, but we made the best of it. And honestly, clients who watch you make the best of it are often people who want to have you back. You just want to be sure you negotiate that stuff up front with the same client so that you don't wind up working out of a closet the next time. All right, the next thing, number 4, costumes and decorations. Are they expecting you to wear a costume or provide set decorations? If so, factor in the cost and time of procuring or creating them. So when I'm going to a gig, for example, if I'm doing holiday caroling, I have costuming I'm going to bring. If they want a full setup with we want Christmas trees, that's not going to happen. They're going to have to provide that. But if I'm doing tarot reading, I bring fun, festive decorations and fabrics and things like that to make the rooms look, where I'm going to be reading, look really atmospheric and really cool. And I have costuming and things like that. On the other hand, I just worked the Central Park Conservancy Gala a couple of weeks ago. Gala a couple of weeks ago. And they were like, yeah, we don't want you to bring a lot of your own decorations. So they wanted my crystals. I always bring a bunch of crystals, which are super heavy, but I always bring them. And they didn't want me to put any fabric or anything because it was the whole space was professionally designed, and it was gorgeous. I have to say, it was so beautiful. Maybe I'll put up a couple of pictures in the show notes so that you can see what they are. Stunning, stunning work. It was super cool. And I understood why they didn't want the fabric. So I got to leave those at home, and that was lovely. A little bit less for me to carry, and that was great. But yeah, you're going to want to, if you're being expected to bring any of that stuff, you're going to factor in the cost and time of procuring or creating them. And don't be afraid to charge extra for these add-ons because they are add-ons. Number 5, deposits and cancellations. If you can, secure a deposit to protect yourself against last-minute cancellations and or put in the contract. I have in my contract, if you cancel within a week, I get paid 50%. If you cancel within 48 hours, I need the full 100% payment. Why? Because I could have booked a different gig for this time and I've been holding it for you. So within a week, I still have maybe a little bit of time to book something for that night. But if it's 48 hours, it's almost impossible to book something for that time. So then I make sure that I get 100% payment. And that's in the contract. And they understand, they grumble, but they do understand that as a performer or a gig worker of any kind, if they cancel on you, you can't book yourself for that time. They need to pay you. And I've had people grumble and I've had to get lawyers involved, but you should be treating yourself like a business. So if somebody else defaults for a business, they will come after them and say, hey, you owe me that money. A deposit, as my friend Eric Henning, shout out to you, Eric, if you're listening to this. As my friend Eric Henning would say, the deposit makes sure that they know that you're getting paid and that you know that you're getting paid. And I love that. So yeah, you should be compensated. You should be compensated for gigs that are canceled at the last minute. Number 6, communication. If you're working through an agent, they might handle most of the negotiations, but make sure they know your specific requirements. If you're dealing directly with the client, don't hesitate to ask questions to clarify their expectations and also to make sure that they know yours. Often agents, and this is something that I'm kind of going through right now, often agents don't want to share the information of who the client is going to be or even where the gig is going to be until the contract is signed because agents sometimes get nervous that you are going to circumvent them and go directly to the client. And I don't know if people do that. Honestly, I would never do that. I've never done it. I would never do it. And most agents have like an 18-month non-compete. So for what that means is in the contract, if you have a certain amount of time between when they book you for a gig and they haven't booked you in, let's say, 18 months for that same gig or with that same client, you are allowed legally to go to that client and go, hey there, you hired me to read tarot for this gig 2 years ago. Are you in need of this again? And if so, here I am. that kind of thing. I almost never do, in part because I get a lot of repeat business, but you are legally, if the contract stipulates, within 18 months, and I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm just telling you what I know. But yeah, if the contract says you can go after 18 months to that same client and see if you can book gigs with them, then you can. You're legally allowed to. Do you want to? That's a really interesting psychology. Legally, yes, you are absolutely allowed to. I don't know if you want to, because the agent's going to find out, and then that might lead to bad blood. Now, again, legally, you're allowed. If there's an 18-month non-compete, month 19, you can say something. But I've never done that, in part because I don't want to piss off my agents. I want to have a great relationship with them. So what I'll do is I'll gently nudge the agent and go, hey, you got me this gig 19 months ago. Any thoughts about contacting them and seeing if they want to book again? And if the agent says, oh, I forgot to contact them, then that's a nice little nudge in that direction for them. And also, if they go, oh, yeah, they're not booking, that's one thing. And yes, you've given up your chance to go to them directly, but I prefer to keep my agents super happy. So that's that. Another thing that recently happened, I've been working with several agencies all over the country, really in parts of the world. And a new agent of one of the agencies that I've been working with since 2002 didn't know to contact me directly for a gig, and instead went to another agency who sort of does that sort of agent to agent. So the agent will call another agent who will book the gig, and then the money goes up the rail. And so I saw that this other agency that I've been working with for 22 years was actually the ultimate sort of agent client for this. And I had to contact everybody and go, hey, just so you know, I've been working there for 22 years. I'm not sure why they went to you to book me instead of booking me directly. But so that everybody knows what's what, I wanted to make sure that they understood that I have legally worked with this other agency for all this time, because in their contract it says, hey, 18 months, you can't work with this other agency. And I'm like, no, I've been working with them. In fact, I started working with them before I started working with you. So there's no way. It's just that it was a new agent and they didn't know. So I crossed that out in the contract that I signed, because I want clear communication. I want everybody to be on the same page. The agency that booked knows, and their new agents need to be told, hey, book Izolda directly. And this other agency knows, and we've known each other for 20, 30 years, so I get that there's this almost a friendship, and in fact, we are friends. And it's still professional. We're still communicating in a way that everybody knows what's what. Don't cheat your agents. It's bad blood, and don't do it. It's really, it's smarmy also. Oh, I would never do that. Anyway, here's my pro tip about this. Get everything in writing, always. It's not about mistrust. It's about clarity. A clear written agreement ensures everybody's on the same page. 2, prepping for success. Now that you've booked the gig, it's time to prep. Preparation is your secret weapon. It's what ensures you show up confident and ready to dazzle them. So here's your preparation checklist. 1, gear and supplies. Make a detailed checklist of everything you're going to need, from your performance materials to your costume props and backup items like extra batteries, cords, or tools for on-the-spot repairs. 2, confirm the details. A few days before the event, double-check all the details, confirm the time, location, parking, and the name of your on-site contact. I try to contact my on-site contact beforehand and go, hey, I'm going to be here. This is me. This is what I'm going to be doing. Looking forward to meeting you, so that they know who I am before I even show up. And also verify any last-minute requests or changes, because you don't want to go, oh, what they want is tarot. And you come in and they go, we wanted palm. Or worse, what they want is palm. What they said they wanted was palm, and you come in and they're like, no, we want tarot, and you didn't bring your tarot deck. Bad. I always bring my tarot deck just in case, but that's one of those things that, you can get yourself into some trouble. My husband does unicycling and stilt walking. He's a variety entertainer. And for example, if somebody booked him for a stilt walking job, and he brought his unicycle because there was a miscommunication, he'd make it work because he's amazing. And it's still something that you don't want to be faced with when you get to the gig and you're like, I don't have the right equipment to do the job. All right, cool. The next thing, transportation and timing. Plan your travel with extra time for delays. Always aim to arrive at least 15 minutes before your call time. So if your call time is 2:30 p.m., be there, be on site by 2:15. I aim for half an hour before because I want to get parked or situated or whatever. I don't want to be waiting for an elevator for 5 minutes. This happened the other day at a gig. I was there and nobody was letting us up, and they could have thought we were late. No, we were trying to reach them to let us up into the building, but you had to sort of call and they had to open the door and you had to get into the elevator, blah, blah, blah. And we were out there for like 5-10 minutes. So we were there on time, but by the time we got up there, officially we were late, even though they were like, oh my God, it was raining. And they were like, we're so sorry we left you out there in the rain. No worries. I had a log that I'd been calling, but it was still one of those, oh, crud. You don't want to go through that. Get there early enough so that you can be relaxed rather than stressed out before you go on this gig. And the cushion, really, it isn't just professional. It's really a lifesaver when things go wrong. If you're there early enough, you can head emergencies off at the pass. Your personal needs. Pack water, snacks, and anything you need to keep your energy up. And remember, the client's focus is on the event, not your comfort. Bring what you need to take care of yourself. If they happen to be providing food and water like they did at the Conservancy Gala the other day, they provided us a beautiful meal. Best falafel I can remember having in years. They provided us a beautiful meal. I had Diet Coke, which was great because I always need Coke Zero. I always need that little extra hit of caffeine. We had an actual green room space where we could keep our stuff, so we weren't worried about where it was going to be. It was amazing and delightful for us. But not all clients are able to do that, and not all clients think of doing that. So you need to be sure that you have your protein bars or whatever it is you can bring to make sure that you've got the right amount of food, the right amount of energy, and the right amount of water to get the job done and do it brilliantly. Here's another pro tip. Rehearse your material. Even if you've done it 100 times, preparation builds confidence and ensures that you can adapt on the fly if you need to. I have been in situations where I am standing in front of 1,000 people playing the guitar, singing a song, and my guitar string breaks while on stage. Did I have extra guitar strings with me? Yes, I did. Did I then make jokes and crack wise while I was changing my guitar string in front of 1,000 people? You bet your bippy. I did not bring an extra guitar. If I had a roadie, I would probably have extra guitars with me so that I can just switch a guitar out. We saw Sting a couple months ago. I saw Sting perform in Philadelphia, and he had just people bring guitars out to him, or bring his bass, or bring his guitar, or bring his whatever he needed. If I were like Sting and if I were that big, yeah, you bet your bippy. I would absolutely want that. But that's not where I am as a performer. So I brought extra strings, but not an extra guitar. And then because I knew my material and my patter well enough, I was able to go ahead and make this thing happen in a way that sounded good and the audience had fun. I changed the string. I had them sing me, 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 me to change the string with me so that they were singing the right pitch. We had a lot of fun with that. And because I was confident in what I was doing, I got it done. We continued with the set and everybody had a great time. Okay. Now let's talk about shining at the gig. The big day's here. Showing up's not enough. You need to be a pro. Arrive early and ready. As I said, early is great. When you arrive, check in with the client or the on-site contact. Be polite, professional, and attentive, confirm any final details, and take a moment to center yourself. Stay flexible. Events are unpredictable. The schedule might run late or your setup might need to move. Stay calm first, adapt, and keep a positive attitude because that client in that moment is running around with their hair on fire. If something's gone wrong on their end, they are just trying to fix it. If you can be the person who helps them fix it, so much the better. I remember last year, Rich and I did a gig with Glenn Heroy, who's a sort of famous New York City Santa Claus. And he was supposed to come. This was in Connecticut. He was supposed to come in and be Santa and for all the little kids at this country club. And I was there. At first I thought I was there to sing, but really I ended up just being there sort of kind of his atmosphere. It was interesting. Anyway, Santa was supposed to arrive in this one certain spot, and somebody was supposed to be there to meet him. That person wasn't there. And as he came right into the room where we weren't supposed to be, where we all were, but we were supposed to be moving into another room altogether. And he shows up, ho, ho, ho. And the person who's sort of from the country club came up to me and went, we're supposed to be in the other room. What do we do? And I went in my best British accent. All right, my lords and ladies, let us all move. We're going to have a parade. And we paraded down, and all the kids were singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town. You know, you'd better not shout, you better not cry, that. And we were all singing that and paraded with Santa into the other room and sat him on his little Santa throne. And that's how we did it. And I did that in the moment because that needed to be done. You stay flexible. You help them when you can. And it was easy for me to do because I can wrangle children, not a problem. I worked in schools for years. So that's something very important to do. All right, engaging with the guests. Yeah, like I just said, if you're performing or you're providing a service, be warm, be enthusiastic. People remember how you make them feel, to quote Maya Angelou, or to paraphrase her. And that includes both the guests and the client. And the other night at this gig, interestingly, we were supposed to do like 1 or 2 minutes of reading, which is really hard to by the time someone has sat down and sort of orients themselves to the fact that they're getting a palm reading, a minute's passed. And I at one point had a line of 70 people, and they were like, can you go faster? And I said, yeah, have them make a question, have them have a question that they want answered. And that helped speed things up a lot because they sit down, they're not sure, and I'm sort of trying to make them feel at ease, especially since there's an interesting thing that happens. Once people see that there's a tarot card reader or a palm reader or whatever there, and I was there with the great Lane Barton, shout out to you, Lane, if you happen to listen to this, and she was reading lips and cards, and I was reading palms and cards, and the cards part wasn't what the client was ordering, and so the agent came over to us and was like, can you please do palms and lips? And I said, sure, except for some questions were going to take a really long time to read palms, and we were supposed to be reading them quickly. So there was this, how do you do this so that the guests still get a really great experience, but you're still doing it in a really fast way? So when I needed to do cards to answer the question quickly, we did that. And what's interesting about this is that once the guests figure out that you know what you're doing, they flock. It takes 1 or 2 people to leave amazed at what you've said, and they tell their friends, and all of a sudden you get this huge line of 70, 80 people, which we had. We were supposed to be doing this, you're 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, and you'll get all these breaks. No, that is not what happened. We absolutely did not get that kind of a break. In fact, we got 1 15-minute break to snarf our dinner, and the whole rest of the 4 hours we were on. Nobody got a break. And that's one of those things where they're waiting in line and they don't understand that you haven't had a break for 2.5 hours. They're just waiting in line. So your sort of job is to be cordial and fun and enthusiastic regardless. However, sometimes you have to maintain those boundaries. You need to be sure that you take your break to go to the bathroom if you need it, right? That's so important. But also on the other side, don't indulge in event amenities like food or drinks unless you are explicitly invited to do so. I've once had a huge to-do from an agent who was on site at a very important client's gig. And I had known the client for years and had worked many of her events. And she said to me, you need to eat. And she actually literally had one of the serving staff go and make me a vegan meal because I'd been working for like 4.5 hours straight. And the agent came in when I was eating. Everybody else, all the guests had gone outside. I was in a little room eating by myself. The agent came in and read me the riot act. How dare you? How dare you be eating? You should be out there working. And I'm like, well, first of all, you didn't approve overtime. And this is my first break in 4.5 hours. And Millie, who was the client, insisted. And she said, what? How? What? And I went, yeah, she insisted. So please check with her. That's why I'm eating. Otherwise, I wouldn't have eaten. I would never eat at an event unless specifically I said no the first time she offered, and she sort of went, no, you are going to eat. And so it's interesting how the agent was very angry at me and then went, well, I'm going to go talk to Millie. And I said, great, go talk to Millie. She went and talked to Millie, and Millie was like, I've known Izolda for 12 years. Of course she's going to eat at my events. And then the agent came back to me and she said, this time it's fine. Okay. It was really weird. I wasn't trying to be mean. I wasn't trying to do anything bad, but I have to say that it was one of those times when I had to kind of go, well, I'm sorry, Millie foisted the food on me and it would have been rude to refuse. So here I am eating, and I was done working, and I was in a private room. So it was just interesting. Like, the agent was angry, but I don't know that she had a lot she could be angry about. And the next time we worked together at Millie's, Millie once again had me eat, and the agents kind of went, oh, I guess she does make you eat. And I said, yeah, she makes me eat. She's like, we're going to get you food, and which is lovely. But moderation is key, right? So you're there to work, you're not there to party. And I was already not working, which is why I felt okay when Millie said, you are going to eat. Going, okay, Millie, I'm going to eat. So the pro tip here is you want to be the kind of person they're going to want to book again. And the agent did book me again because Millie came out and said, absolutely, I want Izolda to eat. She's like a member of the family, which is really sweet. And the agent did book me again. I wasn't snarky to the agent. I just kind of went, I'm sorry. A, I'm not working right now. I'm done. And B, Millie insisted, the client insisted that I eat. She made them make me a plate. And the agent was like, you still should have said no. I'm like, I say no twice. And then if they insist a third time, then I say yes, because to do otherwise is rude. And I didn't want to be rude to the client. And the agent went, okay, well, I guess that's fine. Okay, the last thing that you want to be thinking about, and I know this episode ended up longer than I thought it was going to be, you're going to want to follow up. The gig might be over, but the opportunity to leave that lasting impression is not. Following up is critical, and it's going to build your reputation, and it's going to secure future work. So you can ask for reviews, testimonials. So after the event, ask the client if they'd be willing to provide a review or recommendation. Positive feedback can be a game changer for your portfolio, for your website, for your social media, anything like that. I've had clients who've done videos, literally recorded videos, to say how much they enjoyed the work that I'd done. Number 2, thank the client. A simple thank you note or email, really, it goes a long way, and it shows that you appreciate the opportunity and leaves a positive impression. 3, communicate with the agent. If an agent booked your gig as opposed to the client booking it directly, give them feedback on how it went. I always contact the agent afterward and let them know how things went. And sometimes I also mention additional skills that I might have that they might want to market for future gigs. So for example, if I did a tarot reading gig, I go, don't forget, I do palms and I do crystal readings. And if they ever want like a jazz singer, it's a little out of left field, but I'm also a jazz singer. It'll keep you top of mind. And that's another thing, even in these holiday gigs, if you're doing other things, like my husband does this thing called Awful Santa, which I just love. He's a nasty drunk, has a black eye, walking around with a bottle full of swill, Santa, and he comes to your event and he just lets it rip. And the audiences, the guests, just love him because he's charming, B, he's gorgeous, but C, he's just so darn entertaining, and he makes people laugh and they love it. So he's not your typical ho, ho, ho Santa. Maybe he is. Maybe he's a different kind of ho, ho, ho Santa, but I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, he's that kind of like irascible scoundrel Santa, and clients love it. But if what they know him for is, oh, he's a stilt walker and a juggler and a unicyclist, but for holiday gigs, he can also be this awful Santa. That's a really great thing to remind them in October or November when they're booking their holiday gigs. Oh yeah, I can add in this really cool, fun thing that your guests will just love for the right kind of client. You know, they can put that into a proposal, and you can get gigs for something else in addition to the thing that the agent already knows you do. All right, and the last thing about this is you can be a resource. So if you're too busy for a gig, you can recommend a colleague who could do the job. I do that all the time. Agents and clients are going to remember you as a helpful, solution-oriented pro if you can do that. I have agents coming to me all the time and going, do you know any crumhorn players? Why, yes, I do. How about people who sing kirtan? I know that as well. So that's one of the things that I do for them is I can either do the gig myself or I can pass on the name of someone else. And sometimes I work as an agent myself, and I will book the person and then tell the agent signs the contract, and then I make a little bit off the top, which is also nice. Because you don't just want to be a resource. Sometimes you also want to make a little cash for having been such a resource. And I've been a resource for my agents for 25 years. So yeah, sometimes I am starting to take my 10% off the top. Okay. And the last thing is you leave the door open for future work. Even if holiday work is what you're doing right now, if you have things that are appropriate for other holidays, Valentine's Day or Easter or St. Patrick's Day. I do a lot of St. Patrick's Day gigs because I'm a fiddler and a singer and I sing Irish music. So I get St. Patrick's Day college gigs, for example. That's something I do and it works out super well. So remember that every gig is an audition for the next gig. Alrighty, there you have it. This is sort of the ultimate checklist for navigating holiday gigs as a creative pro. Remember, being a gig worker is about more than talent. It's about professionalism, preparation, and how you handle those little details that make a big impact. And I hope that you found today's episode helpful. If you did, please share it with your fellow gig workers or leave a review. It helps more people discover the show. And don't forget to keep an eye out for my book, Get Booked, A Performer's Guide to Working with Booking Agents in the Gig Economy. That's coming soon. And if you want to get on the mailing list to be the first to know when the book comes out, you can grab the checklist that I talked about in the show notes and in the beginning of the episode. And then you're going to be ready to shine at your next gig. Until next time, I invite you to stay creative, keep showing up, and always be kind. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the show if you're new, and it would mean the world to me if you told a friend about it. Today's episode was produced by Izolda Trachtenberg and is copyright 2024. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope.